Hi, welcome back to Wildcard FPL, your home for FPL content. We've had 2 weeks off. Have you been enjoying the international break, or are you ready for the Prem to get back into full swing? First things first, we've got to say a big thank you for everyone who tuned into our last video. We got a massive response on our international break vid. Lots of views, lots of subscribers. Thank you very much. You know who you all are, especially to Lorenzo, Gucci and Lars, our first 3 critics out there. We appreciate all of your comments, so keep them coming, good or bad. This week we're going to talk about transfers in following the international break, and we're going to talk about our plans for the game week ahead. So let's get right into it. This week, what we're getting into first is transfers in. We're going to give them all a rating based on what other managers have been doing. So we've put together this very handy tier list, and in true Wildcard FPL fashion, we're going to do it based on how many eggs these transfers are worth. If it's a great transfer, it's going to be worth a whole dozen eggs. If it's a rubbish transfer, no eggs. Somewhere in between, half a dozen. So let's get right into it. We're going to first off start with Isak, popular transfer in ahead of game week 9. Where are we putting him? Alf, what are you thinking?
I would say that it's a little bit risky to be going with either Isak or Callum Wilson. If you do get the right Newcastle forward, then you really could be in for a haul. So I would personally say that he is going to go into the half a dozen. Steve, what do you think?
I'd probably agree with Alf. He's probably going to be either between half a dozen or the full whack.
Let's stick him in a half dozen right now. We can always move him around later. Next up is Alvarez, Man City. Steve, what are you thinking about him? How many eggs is he worth?
Same as Isak for me. If you already have him, yeah, terrific. Hold on to him. But I don't know about getting him in now. Champions League coming up. Right now, I'm going to have to leave him next to Isak.
Phil, are you saying he's a better transfer right now than Isak, or a worse transfer?
I'd say he's probably slightly better.
I totally agree with all that, yeah. So I think he goes to the left of Isak. He's a little bit of a better pick, in my opinion, just given that he probably will play, but it's very difficult to say at this point.
Pep's pretty conservative around these sorts of things, so he could choose to rest him, but I still think he's a better pick than Isak.
Next up, Areola from West Ham. I think Areola is a great choice for keeper, but unless you're wildcarding, I don't think bringing in a keeper right now is a good transfer. If it is a wildcard and you're freeing up money, then it's a great transfer. But I think I might put Areola in the half dozen as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. You're absolutely spot on. I think it depends on what you're doing. Are you wildcarding? Do you have 2 free transfers? But wildcard, bring him in, avoid him if it's a kind of free transfer situation.
So I might put Areola ahead of Alvarez just because of the sake that people might be wildcarding him in.
I think in the middle of the two, you're always looking for somebody to sort of score some goals or get attacking returns. And we know that clean sheets are a premium, so I'd stick him in the middle of the two.
Alf, Ben White, what are you thinking about the Arsenal defender?
Arsenal are on my hit list in terms of getting them in, but he's so expensive. He's 5.6 mil. I would say that he probably needs to be a 0 for me just because he's so expensive, and there are some better assets like Gabriel. Zinchenko's cheaper. If you have Ben White, I think that's like keep him. I think he's a really good asset, but if you're bringing him in, I think there are other options in the Arsenal defence. Raya in goal, I love that shout. It's an avoid for me.
Absolutely no eggs.
We have a quorum.
Yeah, for all those reasons. Getting Gabriel, and we were all forced to get rid of Gabriel, weren't we? We were all forced to get rid of him, and now there he is getting all those points. But yeah, look,
and his price has gone down. He was 5 mil. His price is down to 4.7. Absolute bargain.
Oh, I know all about that price. I know all about that price going down.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you're up with our man Jarrod Bowen. What are you saying about the midfielder from West Ham?
I love Jarrod Bowen. Full dozen. He's in my team right now. Give him all of the eggs that we can possibly give. That's my take.
Agreed. I agree with that. Yeah.
Straight in as a dozen. Jarrod Bowen.
We have our first 12 eggs. Look at that.
There he is,
I think
sitting
to qualify
proud.
that, he's got good fixtures. He's got good attacking returns. Great asset. Yeah, I love it.
Right now we've got Dan Burn from Newcastle. I think Newcastle defenders are still good to go for. I think people are getting in Dan Burn as a preference to Botman, and that worries me because Botman could make a reappearance this week. I think if you don't have a Newcastle defender and you want somebody safe, Dan Burn is good. But if you're swapping Botman to Burn, I think that's maybe a bit risky and a waste of a transfer. So for me, Burn is a 6 egg man.
I do think he's a good transfer. Like if you don't have 2 Newcastle defence, he's a good enabler. If there's a way in which you can get Dan Burn and Trippier in, like that's dream world scenario. I have Botman and Shah, which I'm happy with. I think Dan Burn's a nailed on starter for Newcastle. He's in their defence. It's a good defence, and I think he's doing pretty well recently. So yeah, I do like it. Top end 6 from my opinion.
Full dozen all the way.
Full dozen.
Absolute classic full dozen FPL asset. cheap, reliable. And actually, if you watch him play, he's actually a really good footballer. He's a big old lump. He looks like he might be a bit of a Harry Maguire, God bless him, but he's really not. He's actually incredibly athletic and very good football. Don't see anything other than 12 for me.
Yep, okay. Do it. Adam is a 12. I'm happy
behind Bowen, we're saying on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Yogi goodness.
And then we've got Son, Tottenham's star boy at the moment. Alf, what are you saying about Son this week?
Okay, I think that Son actually might be a sell at this point. His fixtures aren't looking good. Is he a good transfer in at this point? I would say no, he's not. I would say he's expensive. His price has just gone up. I would be looking elsewhere. He's expensive. There are better players out there with better fixtures. So I am going to make a conclusion on this. I think that Son actually might be a 0.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be the controversial one and say don't do it. I'm now looking at him probably as more like a 1-week punt. He's playing Forest next. I've got him in my team. I'm not going to get rid of him, but I think after the Forest game, he will be a big sell. What they will likely do, especially if something happens similar to the Luton game he blanks against Forest, we will start seeing a lot of people selling him, and that price will nosedive. So you could run the risk of getting in a 9.3 million Son, and very quickly it's 9.2, 9.1.
Yeah,
and then you're figuring out a sell. Look, 1 week punt. I think right now it would be how I see Son. I'm going to say stick him into a 0.
I think he's a 0 right now. I think he's better than Ben White just because he's got that Forest game and he does have more attacking potential. If you've got him, keep him for Forest. If you don't have him, maybe use the money elsewhere.
Void. Yeah.
And then Maddison, Steve, what do you think about Maddison?
Absolutely love James Maddison, but I feel like it's the same camp. I feel like they're about to have a really bad run of fixtures, Spurs, and we're going to find out a lot about Spurs over this next few weeks. Based purely on the fact that I don't like his run of fixtures after the Forest game, I'm going to say 0. 0 eggs from me.
I agree. I think that he's a little bit, perhaps just slightly more of a keep just because of his price. He's probably a bit more of a keep than Son, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm going to
put him there for now.
I think that's right, actually. I think he is more of a keep than Son. It still feels like a bit of a punt.
With that in mind, Jensen from Brentford. And Jensen has been doing some things. Brentford are underperforming right now. He's 5.4 million. I think he's a 0 eggs.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a trap. I feel like he's done his worth of returns. I'd be putting him in the 0 category at this point.
0 eggs, that ship has sailed.
So I might put Jensen here.
Yeah.
Burnley. They have Burnley.
I think it's a close thing.
Yeah, let's keep him there. It's all good.
Next up, Joachim Andersen.
Trap. It's a similar thing. He's not going to score goals every week. If you have him, I think he's a great asset. They are a good defence, but I think that there are some better assets out there, like Dan Burn, for example. If you don't have him, I'd probably avoid him.
Sounds very much like that is an empty carton of eggs.
Yeah,
Alf,
and
where are we putting him?
One thing to add there as well is that they're playing Newcastle at St James's Park on the weekend. So I think it's a massive avoid at this point for me.
So is he going right down at the bottom?
I think he has to, yeah, just based on his fixtures.
Next, we've got Kieran Trippier, Steve. What are you saying about good old Tripsy at 6.9 million?
Tough.
A few weeks ago, Trippier was a great buy if you had the cash in the bank. But my goodness, he's already heading up towards like 7 million. His creativity is fantastic. He's a brilliant player. I think I'm going to have to put him in the 6 category, half a dozen eggs, just because there will be people out there who've got the budget to afford him, and he is a brilliant asset. But I can't put him in the full dozen. He is expensive as all hell.
Yeah, I'd say 6. I'd say half a dozen.
So where's he going?
Yeah, I'd have him either behind or in front of Alvarez. Definitely no lower than that.
But next we've got Matty Cash. Easy one for me. I think Matty Cash is a full dozen eggs. It's Aston Villa's time. He is probably Aston Villa's best defender at the moment. He's only 5 million. He's a full dozen eggs for me.
A full dozen high quality eggs. Right in front of Bowen. Brilliant buy. Even though he's 5 mil now, I think Villa are coming into it.
Yeah, 100%. I got him in last game week as well. Makes perfect sense. Very template player. Everyone's getting him in. I think it just makes sense to get him in as a kind of security asset at this point.
And next up, another player that people are looking at is our man Mo Salah. Where is he going?
He's got to be a full dozen for me, 100%. The only thing that is tricky, obviously, is the price point, but I think he's pretty much guaranteed to get 10, 15, 20 points a week. I like Mo Salah. I think that he is a full dozen. Mo Salah is the guy if you can get him in, 100%.
His fixtures look awesome. He does seem like the old Mo Salah FPL asset right now. He's contributing. Let's get him in, stick him ahead of Cash.
And we have already spoken at great length about people moving away from Haaland with his poor run of form. And if you are doing that, it has to be Mo Salah. There's no other choice. He's a top tier dozen. Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa. What are you saying about him?
I do think that Watkins is a great buy. Keep it short and sweet. I'm going to say full dozen. He's definitely behind Salah. He may even be behind Cash. Better points for your pounds. But Ollie Watkins is fantastic. Yeah, full dozen from me.
Stick him next to Andersen, zero eggs. He broke my heart. I'm not getting involved in this.
As I'm the man with the mouse, I'm going to put him above Cash. But I'll give you the next one.
It's the right place for him. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Neto from Wolves. Alf, what are you saying about him?
Yeah, I like this guy a lot. He's been a part of a lot of my plans over the past few days, getting him in, which frees up a lot of money elsewhere. I actually think he's one of the top performers in terms of points per million. I would say he's a really good punt. He's a full dozen for me. Maybe at the end behind Burn.
Neto should be being talked about more. He plays for Wolves. That's the problem. Wolves are not a terrific side, but he is a terrific player in that Wolves side. Yeah, I'd agree. I think full dozen eggs, but behind Dan Burn, just because those other players play for slightly better clubs. But yeah, let's whack him up there.
Now we're getting deep into Spurs defenders land. Given the amount of Spurs defenders we're looking at here, we could probably do this in a batch treatment. In the Spurs defenders we can see that are coming up, I might go Udogie, Van de Ven only because he's the cheapest, then Romero, and then Pedro Porro. Probably all in the zero egg department. Maybe Udogie, slightly further up than the others.
Yeah, John's our brother here. He's a Spurs fan. Let's get Udogie in the 6 eggs and the rest in the zero.
Shall we put Udogie behind Isak? I think that's fair,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
And then where shall we slot the others in?
After Andersen.
Oh dear. so we're going Van de Ven, Porro, and then Romero.
Yeah.
Are you?
Why are so many people getting in Spurs defenders? It's kind of strange, isn't it?
They do have some reasonably good
clean
fixtures.
sheets, yeah.
I can't see them bringing in points. They're cheap. Maybe that's why. They've moved from Newcastle to Spurs defenders, maybe, with a wild card. That's all I can think of. I'm not doing it. That's for certain.
I feel a bit bad. Maybe you'd have to put Andersen at the bottom of those.
Yeah, let's pop Andersen at the bottom.
No, wait. I think Andersen before Romero. Again, I just don't like Romero's tendency for a card. There you go. I feel happier.
And then I am happy to
Can I ask a
seed.
question?
Yes.
Is that Raheem Sterling?
That is Raheem Sterling. You have seen this right. I am happy to cede the placement of Raheem Sterling to one of you two, as I know you two have a troubling relationship with Raheem Sterling. So he is right down at the bottom of top transfers in, but 73,000 madmen have brought him in. Where do you two think he should go?
There's just no sense to it, and you can't just keep getting in Raheem Sterling. It's just, how much pain do you want? Do you know what I mean? How much
He will break your heart.
Yeah, how much self-pain are you willing to put yourself through? Just 0. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing him. Just put him at the end of 0. I'm done. I'm done with it.
So just before we make our decision, let's just have a look at his fixtures. He's got Arsenal at home, Brentford at home, Tottenham away, Man City at home, Newcastle away. He could be slightly better than what we're saying.
Is there a place that's -1? He owes us an egg.
Yeah, Raheem Sterling owes us an egg, yeah.
Before I save anything at all, whatever I've seen of Raheem Sterling, he always seems like an absolute lovely fella.
Yeah.
Really nice guy.
Yeah,
If I met
100%.
him, I'd love to meet him. I think he's a really, really top pro. Never complains. Gives everything he's got. FPL wise, he is one of my worst enemies.
Yeah.
He's always let me down and then always done me dirty whenever I've got rid of him. So Raheem Sterling, you owe us 1 egg.
Yeah, we will all happily go for a pint with Raheem at the end of the season when he's finished playing, and we will accept our eggs over a pint. We'll buy the pints, he can get the eggs. So with that being said, we need to talk about what our plans are this week. What are we thinking in terms of transfers going into game week 9?
All right, FPL CVB here, just saying, if you've been liking the video so far, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. All makes a big difference to us, and it really makes our day. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I am probably going to roll. That's my initial thinking. But I have been playing around a little bit. I'm excited about perhaps wildcarding in game week 10. So if I'm doing that, and this is where it all comes into play, because if I am wildcarding 10, then I probably want to be spending my transfer this week. I don't want to be rolling, right? I've got to really game out the next kind of 2 weeks. Wildcard 10 looks pretty good at this point. With that being said, I'll probably just use one transfer or maybe do two. We'll see what happens after the press conferences and during the last hour or so of the deadline.
If you had a preference on one transfer, what would it be? Would it be Mbommo to Palmer, maybe?
Yeah, it's not very punty for this game week, is it? I'd like to get Bowen in. I would like to get an Aston Villa attacker in. I think if I'm going punty, one free transfer, it would probably be getting either Diaby or Bowen in for Mbommo.
And Steve, what about you? What are your plans this week?
I'm rolling around in wildcard bliss. It's just nice to have a bench, have options, have goalkeepers, and have no United players. You know, God bless Man United, but dear me, what a terrible season we're having so far. I hope beyond hope that Højlund just starts banging in goals. And he's a really good player, but I don't see him as a very good FPL asset right now. Don't go anywhere near United assets right now is what I would say.
And in terms of my team, I am also thinking of rolling. I have some Doritos to consider this week. I've got Botman, Flecken and Bell. I don't have to worry about Bell. Flecken I do have to worry about. I wanted to play Flecken against Burnley this week, but I'm left with Areola against Aston Villa. And I'm hoping against all hope that Botman does come back and play. If he doesn't, I've got Dean from Aston Villa to play West Ham as well, which isn't too bad a cover. What I'm considering is rolling my transfers this week so I can assess next week. I want to probably get rid of Mbommo and Wissa following the Burnley game. I'd like to do that without taking any hits, but we will have to see what happens with Flecken and Botman, whether I need to make any decisions elsewhere. I've already taken a couple of hits this season. I don't want to take any more. So I think this week I have cover. It may not be the best game week, but we'll avoid any further hits as necessary. And that's me. So we've got 3 rollers. John, we suspect, is playing his wild card, although we've not seen the finalised team. John is at home in his sick bed this week, so get well soon, John. We'll hopefully see you at the weekend for some Prem. But that's all from us at Wildcard FPL. If you have any comments or suggestions for where we shouldn't be rolling or whether we should be, hit us up in the comments below. We know there's a few active managers out there who like to give us some suggestions on our decisions. If you'd like to contact us on Twitter, our handles will be floating around on the screen as usual. If you've been enjoying Wildcard FPL so far this season, do like everybody else did in the last episode and hit that subscribe button, and you can join us every week.
Hey,
for now,
I just wanted to say, please do just like the video and hit that little subscribe button. Go on, it doesn't take much to do it, and you will legitimately make our days. And we're all bloody lovely lads, aren't we, Steve?
We're all lovely lads. We count every single one of those new subscribers as one of our very dearest friends.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you want to come to the pub and see Raheem Sterling give us some eggs over a pint, then hit that subscribe button and maybe you can join us. But in the meantime, we'll see you next time on Wildcard FPL, and enjoy the Prem this weekend. Cheers.